morning and welcome to 10-Minute Training. This morning our topic is marriage care. Now, this might not seem like your typical topic in children's ministry, but let me tell you why I think that this is so important to think about. And before I get into that, let me first acknowledge that I recognize that there are many different family makeups of the kids in your ministries that are coming, and I want to respect that. And I know that there's so many challenges and there's different reasons why families are going through different situations. So I'm not diminishing that. But what I want to focus on this morning is the kids who have parents who are married, and why I think it is so important that as children's and family pastors, we care about these marriages and we look for ways that we can support and encourage the marriages of the parents of the kids in our ministry. First of all, marriage is tough. Anyone who is married or has journeyed with someone who is married knows that it's a tough relationship to navigate. Even the best relationships, there are different things that you are walking through, that you're learning, that you're navigating, and then you add children to that, and it's a whole new area of decision making and stresses and a whole variety of issues that come up. So for the kids in your ministry, it is so important that you are not only focusing on the programming and the things that you're doing for those children. It's not only important that you're focusing on ways that you can equip parents to spiritually nurture their children. I want to suggest that it is also important that you find ways that you can support the marriage relationship between those parents. Now I say that and perhaps you know that that there are just so many things that fight for attention. So many things that fill up a schedule, and when you have children, you add in more things to schedule in, activities and lessons and things to get to. So I'm not suggesting that you come up with more programs to have parents come to, but are there ways that you can care for and let parents know that you recognize that their marriage is such a special and important relationship, and it really is important in the life of a child as well, to have parents who love and care for each other and who are making time out for one another and their relationship with one another, and not just making it all about the kids. So the first and most obvious perhaps way is to be intentionally and regularly praying for the families of your kids. Praying not only for the ways that they influence them spiritually, but again, for the ways that they are loving and growing in their own relationship. Celebrating the marriages of the parents of the kids in your ministry. Maybe one way that you could do this is getting to know the anniversary dates of those parents. Perhaps you keep track of children's birthdays and you do something in your kids' ministry to celebrate and acknowledge a birthday of a child. What if you also kept track of the anniversary dates? And maybe you sent a card or a text message or an email or a phone call to those parents to just celebrate and say, hey, I know it's your anniversary and I just want to celebrate you. I want to let you know that I'm praying for you, and it is so wonderful that your child has a home with parents who love each other and care for each other. And let me know if there's any other ways that I can be praying for you. What a beautiful and touching way that could be to support those parents. You know, there might be ways that you could look at your programming schedule and think, you know, are there ways that I can intentionally allow for parents to have that time out for themselves? It is so challenging, particularly with young children, for married couples to find that time to just go out even for an hour together, even to just have a little bit of time together. There could be the challenge of time. When do you find the time with everything that's happening and all the activities and that kind of thing going on? It could also be a matter of financial resources. You know, for many of our parents, they might not have family members, grandparents, or others who could do free babysitting. And so to go out would be quite a cost, not only for whatever they might want to do, but to pay a babysitter, to arrange for someone. And then if you have children that it's difficult to go out at night, or to have babysitters come in, or even and to find those appropriate caregivers, these can all be things that just get in the way of parents carving out time for them to just go out together intentionally. So what if you thought about ways that you could maybe schedule in activities, maybe kids programming every so often, that you intentionally encourage parents to have, like parent night off, a date night type of activity. Again, I don't want to forget about or ignore the families where it's a single parent home or there's different family makeups. So you need to use your discretion and care with how you would go about planning these things. But perhaps having an activity every so often where kids can come, their parents can feel free to drop them off for maybe a 2-hour program, and you encourage parents to use that time to be with each other, to go out maybe for a meal, a coffee, maybe even it's just to go grocery shopping or something like that. But is there a way that you can provide for that, but also make it intentionally known that you support the marriages of the parents in your kids' ministry, and you want them to have that time together? Are there other ways that you could be offering support? You know, we look at ways that we can provide resources to parents for how to read scripture stories to their kids, how to pray with their kids, how to teach them different things of the faith. We're looking for those, and those are all great and helpful things. But I wonder if you have considered, you know, are there resources you can provide for your parents to help them find ways to grow in their marriage, to ensure that they're continuing to grow, and to let them know that this is just as important when it comes to the faith lives of your families, that it's just as important to be nurturing that marriage relationship between mom and dad. So perhaps there's resources, perhaps there's things that you can give, perhaps there's ideas that you can send home. Hey, here's a date night idea. And they could be just silly little simple things that you could acknowledge and let your parents have that. Maybe there are ways that you could celebrate publicly the marriages of the parents of your kids' ministry. Are there opportunities in worship to be praying for those families? You know, another great thing that I've seen done at churches is each month people are invited who have been married in that month to stand up and to receive a blessing from the pastor. What an incredible way to celebrate those marriages, and to acknowledge and to pray for God's strength and blessing over that relationship. Again, we want to do our best to be acknowledging that this is such an important relationship, and it takes time, and it takes nurture, and it takes intentionality. So as the church, how can we be coming alongside our relationships and helping them to grow and to develop and to strengthen? I have heard of other ideas that churches have come up with, ways that they can help parents to nurture their own marriage relationship in the midst of all the church activities that's happening. So I wonder about you. I wonder if this is an area that you have considered or thought about. I think that this is an area, of course, that goes beyond children's ministry. We know that there are people who perhaps don't have children at all, or who have children who have grown and are not part of your children's ministry. So this is something that you might want to have a discussion on as a church leadership, pastoral team, about what are the ways that we as a church are being intentional with the way that we support the marriages in our community. You know, I think sometimes in wanting to be sensitive to those who are single, those who are in a separated or a divorced situation, or whatever else might be the circumstance, I think sometimes in wanting to be sensitive to that, we forget about the ways that we can still celebrate, though, the marriages. And so I really think it's important that we look for those ways to, with care and love, celebrate all the different family relationships that exist in our community. The reason why I think that this is something important, and it is an area that children's and family pastors need to pay attention to, is because it really does directly influence so much in the life of a child, the state of the marriage of their parents. It can have an effect on kids if parents are not taking that time out for each other, are not spending a lot of time with one another. Kids see that. They're learning about relationships from the family that they're in. And so they're seeing how their parents relate to each other, how they treat one another. That is one of the first places they learn about a love relationship. Not only with how their parent loves them, but what they observe between their parents. And we don't even know the full impact of what kids are taking in, but they are seeing and they are observing, and that is shaping them for their future relationships with people. And so it's so important that we are helping parents and doing whatever we can not to hinder those relationships from growing and thriving. We also know that that children do best when both their parents are present together in relationship, married, committed to one another. Again, not to minimize the circumstances that come up that cause relationships to end or to break apart. I don't want to diminish any of that or minimize that or ignore that. But what if we as the church could say we take seriously all the relationships? We care about your child, not just that they're coming to Sunday school or to kids club, not just that they're learning the books of the Bible or they're learning all the stories of Jesus, not just that they're learning good character qualities, they're learning how to pray, but we care about your children so much that we want to also be caring for their family, their parents, and how their parents love and grow in their relationship. We want to be caring for all aspects of their life. What a beautiful opportunity that is. Are there books or resources, videos, online resources, training seminars? Are there any things like that you can find that maybe you sometimes offer those or suggest those? If you have a church library, are there resources that you can look for and highlight to families that particularly address the challenges of the young child years or the parenting years when it takes so much focus on parenting a child? Books that help you to remember to nurture your own marriage relationship. Are there podcasts or other things that you could be looking for, searching out, and recommending to parents? Are there words of encouragement you could use? I'm using Facebook Live to do this training. Are there ways that you could utilize social media to also just offer those short little bits of encouragement or prayer or support for the families of the kids in your ministry? There's probably all kinds of ways that you could do this. And I would love to hear the stories of what you're doing, the ways that you are caring for the marriages of the parents in your kids' ministry. I wonder too if there are other ways that we could be supporting people in their marriage relationship. This is something that you do need sensitivity and care with. There's parents who may not want to be sharing the struggles that they might be going through with their children's leaders. They may not want to share, and so it's not maybe about going and trying to find out if anything's going on, but maybe just ensuring that you're building that relationship with parents and that you're letting them know that you care, that their relationship matters, not just because they're the parent of the child in your ministry, but that they matter, and just offering encouragements and words of prayer to them. I specifically chose to do this topic today, the day before Valentine's Day, because that is something that we're thinking about, with Valentine's Day as a celebration of love and relationship. And so I wanted to talk about this today because I think that we have so many things in our culture that are competing for our attention and our thinking in terms of what a relationship looks like. And we are struggling against the issues of, if things get too tough or aren't working out right, just throwing away relationships. And as followers of Jesus, I think that we we have so much more that we can offer, but we know the same struggles and the same issues face us. And so if you get nothing else from me this morning, then I hope that you will hear that I think that you should care that the kids in your ministry whose parents are married, that you should be caring about those marriages, and that you should be finding whatever way is appropriate in your community to be supporting them, to be praying for them, to be coming alongside and providing environments and ways for that relationship to be celebrated and nurtured and to grow. And I think that that is going to affect so much. And how incredible would it be if we had kids that are growing up seeing what a beautiful and God-honoring, growing marriage relationship looks like. We don't see a lot of that in our culture, certainly. We don't get a lot of that in movies and in media. How beautiful that would be if kids were growing up, and how much that might affect their own relationships as they grow into those types of relationships. So I want to encourage you, if this is not an area that you've ever thought about, if this hasn't been on your radar, I'm not trying to give you one more thing to add to your to-do list, but perhaps even just starting at the level of talking as a pastoral team, perhaps even just adding it as one area that you're praying about regularly when you're praying for your kids and your children's ministries. And as you program and plan things, consider families, consider the relationships between moms and dads. Are the things that you're doing, are they helping to nurture not only that marriage relationship, but the family relationship? Or are they things that are just further causing division in where people are going? Are there ways that you can just even subtly show and let people recognize that you think marriage is important, and not just that people stay married, but they grow and thrive and nurture their marriage relationship. Thank you so much for spending these 10 minutes with me this morning, and I look forward to seeing you next time in 2 weeks from today.